This story was inspired by the popular creepypasta, The Black Bell, which is found on a now-defunct forum called Creepypasta Wiki. The story goes on to say that this tale was originally posted by user Hylian, and they uploaded it on November 2009. It was edited a year later on October 2010, and then another time on January 2014. Since the original thread was lost with the death of the website, we may never know how accurate these edits were. So today we'll be taking a look at the terrifying tale of the Black Bell. A terrifying tale of a deal with the devil played out on an abandoned forum, hidden away on the dusty shelves of the early internet. Join us as we dig into the comment sections and archive snapshots to bring you the best creepypastas the web has to offer. We hope you find something good to ring on our channel. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here, like this video if you enjoy it. Also check out our other content. Let's begin. It started with an old, forgotten forum buried in the dust of the early internet. A place where broken image links, outdated GIFs, and long-dead threads testified to the ghosts of people who used to lurk there. Ryan was struggling to pay his rent, his phone bill, and his student loans. He desperately searched for a way to make quick cash on Google. Ryan had stumbled across an old Reddit post titled, "How to Make Money Online." In the comments section, he discovered a user named Zero Mega saying, "Don't waste your time here, go to the Black Bell. If you're serious about making money, you'll understand." Attached to the comment was a link, but it was dead. Ryan was desperate, so he began digging. Using the Wayback Machine, he finally found an archived snapshot from 2007. The homepage of the Black Bell featured a black background, a ringing bell animation and text that read, "Success requires sacrifice. Ring to begin." Below it was a digital button shaped like a tarnished brass bell. Ryan thought it was a joke, some hacker's art project, but curiosity compelled him to click it. The page didn't reload. Instead, his speakers hissed with static before a deep, hollow chime rang through his apartment. The lights flickered. He leaned back, unnerved, but then text began crawling across the screen. "You have rung. You will be contacted." Then it went dark. That night he dreamed of a bell tower rising out of an endless ocean. Something inside was pulling its ropes, unseen hands forcing the massive bell to swing. With each toll, the waves darkened until the water looked like ink. He woke sweating, his phone buzzing on the nightstand. A new email had arrived, but there was no sender listed. The subject line, "You are ready." The email contained instructions, nothing more. He was told to go to a convenience store at the edge of town at exactly 2:13 a.m. and buy 3 specific items: a pack of matches, a can of black spray paint, and a raw steak. He was not to speak to the cashier no matter what they said. Failure to comply meant losing his chance at success. Ryan laughed nervously, but deep down, he felt an almost magnetic pull. He told himself it was a prank, maybe an ARG, but what did he have to lose? At 2:13, he walked into the brightly lit store. The cashier, an older man with a sunken face, gave him a look that made his stomach turn. As Ryan placed the items on the counter, the man cleared his throat and said, "You shouldn't be doing this." Ryan froze, but remembered the warning. He didn't reply. He paid in silence and left. The moment he stepped outside, his phone vibrated again with a new email. "Well done, the gate opens." Over the next few weeks, the tasks escalated, each one stranger than the last. He was told to leave the raw steak in a nearby park at night, spray paint a door frame black in an abandoned building, burn the matches one by one in his bathtub until the air grew thick with sulfur. Each time he completed a task, his phone chimed with praise. They told him he was moving closer to unlocking the flow. His bank account, curiously, began to swell. First, it was an unexpected deposit of $500, then $2,000. Within a month, he had nearly $15,000, all transferred from anonymous accounts. The money was real. His desperation turned into devotion. But the tasks grew darker. One night, The instructions demanded he go to a specific address, a house on the outskirts of town. He was told to break in and retrieve whatever was inside the fridge. Ryan hesitated, but greed gnawed at his fear. The house looked abandoned, its windows broken and roof sagging, but the front door creaked open too easily. Inside, the smell hit him first: rot, wet wood, and something metallic. He forced himself to the kitchen. The fridge buzzed weakly, its door covered in grime. When he opened it, he nearly gagged. Inside was a glass jar filled with a thick, dark liquid. Floating in it was what looked like a human tongue. He wanted to run, but his phone chimed. A message: "Take it, do not spill." His shaking hands lifted the jar. The tongue bobbed against the glass. He carried it home, locked it in a box, and waited for the next command. Soon, the line between obedience and obsession blurred. He no longer questioned the requests. When told to dig a shallow hole in the woods at midnight, he did it. When told to smear the jar's contents on the walls of his bedroom, he gagged but obeyed. And when told to ring a handbell that appeared mysteriously at his doorstep one morning, he rang it. That night, everything changed. The bell's sound didn't echo, it absorbed. The air bent inward as if the sound pulled everything closer. Ryan felt his chest tighten, his vision darken. In the ringing's wake, shadows began to move along his walls. Not like tricks of light, but real shapes. Figures tall and crooked, bending unnaturally as they crept closer. He dropped the bell, but it didn't stop. The ringing continued, vibrating in his bones. The email came seconds later. "Congratulations, you have been chosen as a collector." From that day forward, his role shifted. He was no longer just receiving instructions, he was giving them. Anonymous names, faceless email addresses appeared in his inbox, waiting for guidance. He was told what to command them, small acts at first, but steadily more sinister. Each time they obeyed, Ryan's balance grew, his wealth ballooning into the hundreds of thousands. He bought a new car, a new apartment, but no matter where he lived, the shadows followed. They hovered in corners, whispered when he tried to sleep, brushed against his skin in the dark. He rationalized it all as the price of success. But the truth clawed at him in quiet moments, especially the night one of his students emailed him back, pleading, "Please, I don't want to do this anymore. Why are you making me break into houses? Why do I have this jar? Please let me stop." Ryan didn't reply. He couldn't. Weeks passed, months even. Ryan became a ghost in his own life, a puppet dancing to unseen strings. Then the calls started coming in. His neighbors, frantic, asking why a week's worth of garbage hadn't been taken out, why the lights were on but no one was answering the door. His landlord called to ask when he'd be paying his rent. It had been weeks since he'd left the house, but behind the locked door, Ryan was busy. The bell demanded more and more. It whispered to him at night, urging him to unlock the final tasks. It showed him glimpses of his future self, a grotesquely bloated figure with soulless eyes sitting on a throne of skulls. He saw endless waves of disciples bowing before him, their faces twisted in devotion. The grand finale, the moment he'd ascend to godhood, would require a sacrifice. And with each passing day, he grew closer to completing the final ritual. One day, the police broke into his apartment. The door splintered under their battering ram, but it was empty. Black symbols covered the walls, and the bell lay in the center of the room, cracked, but still humming with a faint vibration. Ryan was gone. His accounts were drained, his emails empty. Only one draft remained unsent. "Welcome. You have been chosen. Ring to begin." Did you enjoy this story? Let us know in the comments below. Also, check out our podcast available on various platforms. Thanks for watching and see you soon. If you like being scared, please subscribe. It helps a lot. Hey, so earlier today, I published a story called The Ledger. It's about a hustler named Mark who discovers a cryptic trading program in an occult Discord server that grants him unimaginable wealth in exchange for sinister tasks. While the story is fictional, the premise is rooted in a very real phenomenon: dark occult entrepreneurship. In recent years, the occult has gone mainstream. We see it everywhere, from fashion to music, film, TV shows. But while this interest may seem like mere aesthetic preference, there's evidence that some individuals take it much further, exploiting the supernatural for personal gain. Today we are going to explore the unsettling world of those who would trade their souls for financial success. Let me tell you about Dr. Ashia Ajaka, a self-proclaimed shaman, author and healer. In her workshops, she teaches the rich and famous how to use witchcraft to attract wealth, power, and fame. Her clients pay thousands for these lessons, believing that they can manifest their desires with the help of her supernatural guidance. Of course, this isn't anything new. Magic and mysticism have been intertwined with capitalism since the beginning. Think of the legendary alchemist who sold his soul to the devil in order to achieve wealth and power. Or the Salem witch trials, where accusations of witchcraft were often used as a way to destroy one's reputation and property. But the trend we are seeing today goes beyond that. Today, we have people like Simon and Martina, a Canadian couple who gained notoriety for offering dark occult services on Etsy. They sold items like cursed love dolls, hex bags, and haunted voodoo dolls. These may sound like macabre jokes, but their listings were disturbingly real. Take this cursed love doll. It was priced at $999 with a disclaimer warning potential buyers that they shouldn't buy it if they don't want to attract bad luck and negative energy. Similarly, their hex bags ranged from $85 to $165. You could choose to remove bad luck, attract prosperity, cause someone harm, or even bring back a lost lover. This is a far cry from the typical Etsy fare of homemade jewelry and personalized greeting cards. But perhaps even more disconcerting than these dark merchants is the proliferation of influencers who promote dark occult practices. These individuals often have large followings on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. They share spells, curses, and rituals, often with a casual flippancy that trivializes these potentially dangerous practices. Take, for example, this video posted on TikTok by an occult influencer. It's a disturbing visualization exercise that involves summoning demonic forces, or this one which instructs viewers on how to cast a curse. With over 5 million views, these videos suggest that dark occult practices are becoming increasingly normalized. Now, you might be thinking that this is all just harmless fun, right? Just kids messing around with stuff they don't understand. Well, maybe. But there's a fine line between fantasy and reality. And some experts believe that we are already seeing the consequences of this growing trend. For instance, in 2019, there was a surge in black magic-related searches on Google. People wanted to know how to harm someone, how to curse someone, how to cause them pain. This sudden interest is hard to ignore. So here's the unsettling truth. There is no such thing as harmless witchcraft. Every spell, every curse, every ritual has the potential to cause harm. Even if you don't believe in the supernatural, the mere belief that something can cause harm can be dangerous. Let me explain. The power of suggestion is incredibly strong. If someone believes that they have been cursed, they may experience real physical and psychological symptoms. This is known as the nocebo effect, the opposite of the placebo effect. So when someone casts a curse, even if it's all just a hoax, the target may still suffer because they believe they have been cursed. Take the case of the Elliott family in New York. In the 1970s, George Elliott and his family experienced a series of terrifying events. Objects moved on their own. Disembodied voices filled the house. They believed that they were being targeted by malevolent spirits. Eventually, they contacted a priest who performed an exorcism. But tragically, this only made things worse. The events escalated, culminating in the death of George's wife and son. An investigation revealed that George had fabricated the entire story. He had caused the poltergeist activity himself, hoping to collect life insurance for his family. This case demonstrates the real-world consequences of playing with the supernatural. But it doesn't end there. Some argue that engaging in dark, occult activities can have even more sinister consequences. It can lead to addiction, obsession, and even psychosis. Consider the case of Kenneth Anger, an American filmmaker who explored themes of Satanism and black magic in his films. He was fascinated with all things occult, and his films often depicted disturbing imagery. But as he delved deeper into the occult, his mental state deteriorated. He became increasingly erratic and violent, eventually ending up in a psychiatric hospital. This suggests that playing with dark forces can sometimes lead to dangerous psychological consequences. And that brings us back to Mark and his pact with the entity behind the ledger. Now, the concept of selling one's soul to the devil is a popular trope in horror fiction. It's a way to explore the dark side of human nature, the lengths we will go to for fame, fortune, and power. But the truth is that the concept of soul selling isn't just a figment of our imagination. It's a real phenomenon that has been documented throughout history. Take the case of Jack Parsons, an American rocket scientist who was a key figure in the development of the space program. But Parsons wasn't just a brilliant scientist. He was also a follower of the Church of Satan, a religious organization founded by Anton LaVey, the self-proclaimed Satan. Parsons believed that Satan represented individualism and freedom from conventional morality. He saw Satanism as a way to live life on his own terms, free from the constraints of society's expectations. But Parsons' interest in Satanism soon became an obsession. He began to neglect his work and his relationships, spending more and more time with the Church of Satan. Eventually, he was fired from his job at JPL, and his marriage broke down. Parsons became increasingly erratic and paranoid, believing that he was being followed and harassed by the FBI. He began to hear voices that he believed were demonic, and he eventually took his own life. This tragic story suggests that the pursuit of power and wealth, especially when it involves dark occult practices, can have devastating consequences. In the end, Mark's story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that our fascination with the dark side of human nature should be treated with respect and understanding. So if you ever find yourself tempted by promises of wealth and power, remember Mark's story and resist the urge to sell your soul for worldly gain. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Your support means the world to me and helps keep me motivated to produce more high-quality content. Also, feel free to check out my podcast. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and happy Halloween. They say everyone gets lucky once in their life, but maybe some people's luck runs out sooner than others. Let me explain. My name is Jay, and I'm here to tell you the story of a strange phone call that shook a young mother to her core. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a horror podcast where I bring you terrifying tales from all around the world. If you love scary stories, then join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a spine-tingling new story. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Lena loved her son more than anything in the world. Named Jacob after his father who died in an accident before he was born, the boy had been her reason to get better grades in school, a job, and eventually her own home. She was only 24, but already a homeowner, albeit one who worked extra shifts as a waitress and took care of her elderly neighbor to make ends meet. Recently, however, things were starting to feel unstable. Her husband's family had made Lena feel unwelcome because she was only a stepchild to them. They never helped with gifts or childcare and often insulted Lena and Jacob. Her boss was also deducting more hours from her schedule, leaving her with less money in her pocket. So Lena was feeling the pressure. One rainy afternoon, while returning from the grocery store, she saw a lost cat hiding under a parked car. She couldn't bear to see the poor animal drenched in the rain, so she took it home without hesitation. The family objected, but they knew how stubborn Lena was and relented with a sigh. Little did they know they would soon be sharing their home with more than just a cat. A couple of days later, Lena was washing dishes when she heard loud meows from Jacob's room. As she rushed to check on him, the phone rang, startling her. Startled. On the other end was a man whose voice sounded strangely distorted, as if he were speaking from inside a tunnel. He asked for Jacob, confusing Lena even more. When she answered for him, the man continued speaking to Jacob, as if Lena wasn't there. With a growing sense of unease, Lena stayed on the line, listening intently. The man spoke about missing Jacob and his favorite toy truck. It was clear that he was Jacob's father, which shouldn't have been possible because he had died in an accident years ago. As the conversation went on, Lena felt a chill crawl down her spine. The man's voice sent shivers down her arms, making her question what she was hearing. Was this a prank call? Had her husband somehow come back as a ghost? Afraid to hang up and potentially offend a spirit, Lena let the call continue. The ghostly man continued talking to Jacob, mentioning the special toy truck that he had promised to fix. Jacob, oblivious to the eerie situation, responded by laughing. After the call ended, Lena found a brand new toy truck in Jacob's toy box. It was identical to the one her husband had broken during the accident. How could that be? She searched for an explanation, trying to piece together the puzzle of the mysterious phone call. She needed answers, and she needed them fast. Days turned into weeks, yet the phone calls persisted. Every day at precisely 3 p.m., the ghostly voice would call, asking for Jacob and discussing the same old topics. Lena found herself dreading these calls, the eerie nature of the voice causing her fear and discomfort. It wasn't until one fateful call that everything changed. During one of those calls, as the eerie voice talked to Jacob, Lena couldn't help but listen intently. The voice, raspy and haunting, spoke about the upcoming storm and its destructive power. Lena, distracted by the conversation, was preparing for the worst. Suddenly, the wind outside intensified, mirroring the ominous tone of the caller. What was the connection between these phone calls and the weather? Just then, the lights flickered ominously, plunging the house into semi-darkness. The wind began pounding against the windows, and Lena, filled with dread, watched as the sky darkened rapidly outside. As the storm reached its peak, the ghostly voice spoke again, its tone more urgent than usual. It mentioned that Jacob would be safe, and that Lena shouldn't worry. The rest of the conversation was filled with urgency and warnings about the approaching danger, but Lena was too preoccupied with the violent winds and the flashing lightning to fully comprehend the message. As the storm raged outside, Lena clung to Jacob tightly, desperately trying to shield him from whatever danger lurked outside. The wind screamed, the rain poured, and the thunder roared. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house. Lena jumped, her heart pounding in her chest. Rushing to the window, she saw that a large tree had fallen across the road, blocking their only way out. Fear constricted her throat as she realized they were trapped. The ghostly voice continued to speak, but Lena was too overwhelmed by the situation to understand its words. She felt helpless, trapped by the storm and the cryptic warnings. As the night wore on, Lena struggled to calm Jacob, who was crying and frightened by the storm's fury. It was the longest night of her life. With the first rays of dawn, the storm finally began to subside. The wind outside softened, and the rain gradually slowed to a drizzle. Lena, exhausted but relieved, held Jacob close, grateful that the worst seemed to have passed. But little did she know that the danger was far from over. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Lena decided to venture outside to assess the damage. To her relief, the tree that had fallen across the road had been cleared, and the path was now free. However, as she stepped out onto the porch, she noticed something chilling. Embedded in the porch post was a piece of wood, and carved into it was the date and time of Jacob's father's death. How could anyone know this? Was it a coincidence? Or was someone watching her? Over the next few days, Lena found more such signs. Unexplainable events shook her to the core. Her neighbors, who had always been friendly, suddenly became cold and distant. Whispers started circulating about her in the neighborhood, and strange occurrences filled her waking moments. Even her dreams were plagued by haunting images of her husband's ghost. One evening, as Lena was cooking dinner, a vase suddenly shattered, sending shards of glass flying across the kitchen. Moments later, Jacob came running into the kitchen with a terrified expression. He explained that the vase had fallen off the shelf on its own, although Lena knew that wasn't possible. And that's when she noticed something peculiar. The clock on the mantel was set to the exact time of her husband's death. Was someone trying to send her a message? Lena couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, judged. And as the days passed, the tension in her home grew heavier. She became increasingly isolated, her friends and neighbors avoiding her as if she were carrying a contagious disease. Sleep became a luxury she couldn't afford. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind sent shivers down her spine. She started seeing shadows out of the corner of her eye and hearing whispers in the dead of the night. Lena felt trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up. She wanted to escape, but where could she go? Who would believe her story? As the situation spiraled, Lena found herself confiding in no one. She was too afraid of what others might think. She couldn't understand the messages, but she feared they were warnings. What was trying to tell her? Why was she being targeted? And what did it mean for her and her son's future? Thanks for listening to this episode of My Heart. If you like this story, please give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so that you never miss an upload. Leave a comment below with your thoughts, and we may feature your comment in a future episode.